Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Introduction to ATTAINS training. Laura, are you on the line?
I am.
I'll just turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to get started right away just because of time sensitivities. Our presenter for today is Jesse Borman-Paget. Jesse is my coworker here in the water data integration branch. If you haven't met him already, he's very knowledgeable on all things in this project, but most specifically the ATTAINS system itself. And so Jesse is going to be leading the ATTAINS specific trainings as we move through this spring, starting with this one. So this training is an introduction to the system, what the modules do, how to do basic manual entry, and some other information that Jesse's going to talk about today. You guys don't have access quite yet to the system, so just hold tight. So we wanted to make sure you get this introductory lesson prior to getting you that access. But once you get this training, then I'll make sure to get you guys access. For those folks who are already in the we're in the ATTAINS pilot. This is a refresher for you, but you don't have to stick around for it all. Jesse can introduce some things that may or may not be of interest to you in the long run, but it is always nice to kind of get a refresher. And with that, like I said, this is the first of 3 for Jesse. So each month we're going to have one that's more assessment-based training to prepare you guys for submitting, and the other one's going to be more system-based. Okay, so Jesse, can you hear me all right? And are you ready to go?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, well, I'll turn it over to you. And Karen, are we recording?
Yes, we are.
Perfect, thank you. All right, have at it, Jesse.
Hey, thank you, Laura. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. As Laura mentioned, this is an introductory training. This is going to be hands-on, or as hands-on as we can do in this virtual environment. So if you have the email that Karen sent out earlier today with the 2 exercises, now would be a good time to open that and download those PDFs for the hands-on portion, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to start sharing. Oh, and don't worry, if you don't have access, you're not going to be using your login at all today. We're going to be working in a test account in the demo system we have that I will give you the information for before we do the hands-on portion. So let me share my screen. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. So this is going to be an introduction to ATTAINS. So ATTAINS is split up into different modules, which are across this top bar in ATTAINS that you'll see when I show you the actual system. And so the first module is the assessment units module. So the assessment unit is a unit that is completely defined by the tribe. And it is the unit where the assessment decision applies. We've talked about this a bit in this group already, but basically just as a refresher, like assessment unit has one and only one decision per use parameter combination. So again, if you say right over here is supporting aquatic life use, Mercury is supporting aquatic life use in this place, but it's not over there, then those have to be 2 different assessment units. If aquatic life use is supporting, because Mercury is within criteria here and it is over there, those could be the same assessment unit. They don't have to be, but they could be. The assessment unit can be points, lines, or polygons. Again, if using lines or polygons, GIS is required. But regardless of what geometry you use, you still enter the information into ATTAINS. It's also associated with one or more monitoring stations, or you'll see where that is in ATTAINS today. And they generally stay the same from one submission to the next. So if you can totally change assessment units, add, retire, split, or merge between submissions, but generally there's a reason why you're doing that, and if otherwise, they'll generally be the same. And so then the next module is assessments, and these two, the assessment units and assessments, are the two we're gonna learn about today and entering information on. Assessments contains the information on use support parameters, and parameter status for the assessment unit. And is also where EPA will go in and review the submission. And for the EPA people on the phone, when I asked if you want to be reviewer, this is the module you're reviewer for. So you really don't have any ability to edit the assessment units. You can see them, but you can't edit them. Those are exclusively for the tribe to edit. But you can edit once it's gone to a certain, once the tribe has officially submitted it in ATTAINS. And we'll talk about that in another session, how that works. That you can edit it when you review the assessments. And also you can work with your tribe to edit the assessments if they give you that permission early on when it's in draft stage. But we're talking about that stuff in a later one. Right now, we're focusing on getting learning what the modules are. So the next module is actions. This can be thought of as containing any action to restore or protect water quality, such as TMDLs are frequently stored in here. This is rarely used by tribes. In fact, none of our pilot tribes have entered anything in here. So at least for this training, we're not really gonna practice using the actions module. If there are tribes on the call who want to use this and enter information in there, I talk offline about how to use this and that. But for most people on the call, we're not going to use this module. And then the next module is reports. So this contains summary and comparison reports to help sort, filter, and visualize data. These are very useful both for the tribe and for EPA reviewers to see at a glance, like, oh, I have 10 assessment units that are not meeting for mercury. And you can download the reports as well and like view them in Excel. And we'll talk about that in a later session, but this would be very useful for reviewing submissions and just seeing just making sure everything's correct before you submit if you're a tribe. And then the last one is administration. So this is, this can do a number of things, but mostly it's for where tribes to modify your domain values and for EPA to modify users. So like when Laura and I went in to add the tribal and EPA users to the organizations, this is where it went into the administration module. And so any questions on any of these modules before we get into demo? Okay. So I'll bring this slide back up after I show the demo, but today we're going to be working in the demo environment of ATTAINS, which is at this IP address. And this is the site we use for training and testing, basically. And none of the data in it is like official ATTAINS submission data, and that's why we have it, so that it's kind of a sandbox environment for people to play in. And then we're all going to be using this Tribe A admin account with this password. Don't worry, I'll put this back up before the hands-on. So that, and which is one of the test tribal accounts we have in the system. So without further ado, I'm going to go, I'm already in ATTAINS here. So this is the ATTAINS login screen. This is what it looks like for this, for the purposes of this training, we're going to use the sign in with a test account. So I enter the username, test, Tribe A admin, and the password. And then this is what it looks like when you get into ATTAINS. You can see that this this will have your organization name. So it will say the name of your tribe up here. This just says test tribe, and this is actually our test tribe without TAS. So it's TAS equals N. And so when you first get, you see the modules I mentioned earlier. And you see this home screen, which just really has information about the release. And this would be more relevant as you use ATTAINS more and find possible bugs that might be there. Then you can see, oh, those have gotten fixed. Or you can see we've added some new functionality, so that's useful. And then there's this contact information if you need help. Or you can also reach out to myself or Laura if you need help as well. Or your regional contact. They're pretty knowledgeable as well. So I'm going to start in the Assessment Units module. So I'm going to click the Assessment Units button. And you can see it brings you to a table of assessment units. And so this organization right now could have up to, can have a ton of assessment units. Right now we only have one. So how do I get rid of this? So I am going to, there you go. So we're all, for this, you're going to create your own assessment unit you're going to work on for the hands-on session. So I'm going to click Create Assessment Unit. And then it says to make the assessment unit, your tribal abbreviation, your first initial, last initial, and then underscore training. So I'm going to say I'm in Fond du Lac. And then I'm going to put my initials and training. And then it asks for an assessment unit name. So I'm going to put Stony Brook. And then a location description. It says this river goes from the confluence of the Cheyenne River to its headwaters. And then you can see, and so these are required. You need assessment unit ID, you need assessment unit name. Oh, and then you can also, I don't think this is relevant to anyone on the call, but if you're a tribe that borders, that is like in multiple states, you can select which state the assessment unit is in as well. That's a feature ATTAINS has. So location description is required. Water type is also required. So in this case, we're going to say it's a river. And size is 14.5 miles. And these units are determined by the water type. So if I change this to pond, you'll see it changes to acres. And so that's the required fields. And you can also add a size source. So in this case, I'm going to say it's derived from the National Hydrography Dataset, NHD. And I'm going to say it's a 1 to 24,000, so high-res NHD. And we're going to say this was a GIS calculation. And then click Add. And this is rare, and but it is supported. You can have more than one water type on an assessment unit. So you could have an assessment unit that's a lake that then goes into a river. And so you can have that. Most people do not do that. And if you're using points, you probably wouldn't do that. And then you can also add locations. So you can add like if what huck it's in, and then you can give it a value. I don't think this test organization has any hucks loaded though. So yeah. And then the directions say that you can add a county, but there are no counties added in this organization. So just ignore that. You can add counties if you have the add to organization, HUCs, and other locations. And then this is important. This is the monitoring stations. So this is where you can add information on your monitoring locations and do add information on your monitoring locations. That's a requirement we're having for tribes, so that it helps your reviewer just know like what data was used to make your decisions. And then we're actually going to have an exercise of batch uploading these in another session when you work on batch upload, which is beyond introductory attains. And then you can upload documents such as pictures of the water body if you want. This isn't required at all. And then modifications, you don't have to add anything here, just tracks any splits and merges over time, which if you're new to attains, you won't have any because it's your first submission. And then when you're happy, you press save. And oh, I need to give it a state. Okay, so you need to give it the state if you're a tribe in more than one state. And then you click save. And that is my new assessment unit just created. So any questions about that? Okay, so now I'm going to, now it's your turn to do it on your own. And
I had a quick question about that, Jesse. This is
Yep.
in Region 7.
Mhm.
You said that you have to pick a state, but what if that water's not in Arizona or New Mexico?
This is just a test thing, so just pick one of those two. When you're in your actual account, that is a tribe in more than one state, or is it just in one state?
Oh, okay. So it'll be different in the real world.
Yeah, in a real account, yeah, it would be different.
Okay, thank you.
And if the tribe is only in one state, they won't even have that option.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. Okay, so now I am going to stop sharing and try it on your own and let me know if you have any questions or problems that come up. Usually we do this in person, so see how it works doing it virtually.
Hey Jesse, this is Sophie. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I just logged in to my Attains account, and I just wanted to see, in case this is helpful for other people, our assessment unit, I look at our assessment units, and in some cases, or actually in all of the cases, our monitoring station ID is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have the same name as our assessment unit. We'll have the same name, and then we'll have the monitoring station as the same name.
Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Just still enter the monitoring station in the monitoring locations area so that whoever's looking at knows that they're the same. But yeah, it's perfectly fine to have the same ID for both. And I put up the information you need to get into the test account.
Jesse, I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. I thought we were doing that hands-on part right now. Sorry. Yeah, so if you could please go to, I'm gonna share my screen again. I'm sorry, I did not realize you guys are waiting for me to talk. Yes, please go to this URL on your own computer and enter this username and password and do exercise 1 in the system using your own tribe abbreviation, your own first, last, initial, and training, and then follow the directions. Yeah, just use that standard for this training with your free assessment unit ID, just so we don't have duplicate assessment unit IDs, because you can't have two assessment unit IDs with the same, two assessment units with the same ID. Obviously, I know you guys use different systems when you actually be naming your assessment units. Any questions?
Yeah, Jesse, this is Shane from Red Lake.
Yep.
Maybe I missed this, but I'm trying to enter the location and it only gives me Huck 14 and Huck 6. It doesn't give me the option.
Yeah, so there won't be any county. This organization doesn't have any counties entered with it. I apologize for that, that we didn't do that. So just ignore entering the location information for county. Sorry about that.
Jesse, can you explain the locations moving forward in their own accounts?
So yeah, in your own accounts, you can have those associated through, I believe it's the domains. You can enter that in when you enter the domains in the administration tab. So if you want to say what HUC it's in or what county it's in, for instance, you can add that information. You don't have to, it's not required, but you can.
So just to be clear, there are a set of locations that are automatically associated with your account based on your location information, such as your state, such as the HUCs that you mentioned, Shane. Anything else that you want to document at that level has to be added by a user, and that's under the administration tab. Locations in their entirety are not required, and you don't have to put them in there. However, if you do want to document that with your assessment unit, anything that's not a preloaded dropdown has to be user created.
So now if I go to ATTAINS, let's see. Okay, I'm seeing some assessment units show up. That's great.
This is Angie with Pinot. I'm saying that's an error when I try to save it. So it seems like everything's filled out. I got some error messages and I fixed them, but now it's saying the could not be completed due an internal server error.
Just
Um,
I can't even get in right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's like it's being overloaded.
Oh, that's weird. Are other people having trouble getting in or having other internet server errors? The one thing I could, yeah, the internet server is tricky, Angie. You don't have any spaces in your AUID, right?
No.
Huh. Because I know that can be a problem.
Is there
Other
a length limit to the identifier? Maybe too long.
Yeah, it probably is. I don't know. I've never run into that problem. Yeah, try making it shorter. Yeah. Any luck, Laura? And getting in?
No, I'm gonna email Ottman and them.
Oh yeah.
Just they see.
Yeah, so this demo server we're working on right now doesn't have a ton of capacity, but we've used it for trainings before and it's been fine. So Okay.
I am also seeing the request could not be completed due to an internal server error message.
Okay. Thank you. And this was, yeah,
This is Sophie.
yeah, and you just did like everything that was asked, huh?
Sophie, do me a favor, take a screenshot of that and send it to me. This is
Okay.
This is Angie with Penobscot Nation. I refreshed and started over. I didn't have to log out. I just refreshed my screen and did everything over again, and I just got it to work. So just so that you know.
Okay.
Oh no.
Great.
Yeah, sometimes when everybody's hitting the server at the exact same time, that'll happen. It won't happen in the production system, but with this it will.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, it must be overloaded because that internet server error is hard to get when you're doing manual entry. If you're doing batch upload, it's a different story. But
Oops, sorry. I was going to send a screenshot and I accidentally left the page. So I'll just try again.
yeah, I think that's the only time I've seen the internet server error doing manual entry is if the system's just overloaded. I can't see it. How many people do we have on the call?
We have 40 participants.
Yeah, that's on the higher end of training we've done, so that might be what's happened.
Under state, I'm only seeing Arizona and New Mexico. I'm not seeing Oklahoma.
Yeah, so this fictitious tribe that you're all working in straddles the border between Arizona and New Mexico. So those would be the only options you have. So just pick one. When you get in your own account, you ever have the correct states for your tribe.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Jesse, how long are you giving folks?
I see we have 14 assessment units in, so that's good. I don't know, maybe another 5 minutes ish. We do need to get to assessments.
Laura, this is Angie. While we're waiting, how much of how much of this is connected to How's My Waterway? Like if we upload pictures, do those get linked?
I can answer that.
Oh, sorry.
Right now, no,
Okay.
but that could easily be added as a future functionality of How's My Waterway.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I uploaded one to mine already just to test it out, of course. So.
Oh, great.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll give people about 1 more minute to finish up, and then we'll move on to assessments.
Is that you? That wasn't you? Oh, it's all really talking. No, I don't know.
And Jesse, an assessment unit has a string max of 50 characters from the last DET.
Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, we're going to move on to assessments, which is exercise 2. Yeah, I definitely want to give you guys enough time to play in assessments, since it's kind of really the core of ATTAINS. So to get to the assessments, you click the assessments module. You'll see right now we have a ton of assessment units that have been created. And so when you have a brand new assessment unit that you have not added any assessment information on, it says no information. And that's good because we just created them. You can see it says Assessments 2020 Organization Draft. We're getting to this more on a future call, but basically what that means is this is for your 2020 report, and it's an organization draft, which means it's basically the tribe's ability to play with it, make changes, and by default, EPA cannot see what happens in this stage. So we'll talk more about that in a future training. But right now, so to enter assessment information, you click the assessment unit you just created. And then there are all these tabs along the top that take you through how to fill out the information for your assessment. So you can add a lot of information like here, like when it was monitored, you can put some comments, a rationale. This is actually very important information for your reviewer to see like why you made the decision you did about this water. It's not required by ATTAINS, but it is useful information and your reviewer might require it, up to your reviewer. And agency, so for everyone on the call, this would be tribal. And it defaults tribal since this is a tribal account. The only thing required by the system on this page is cycle last assessed. So when did you make the assessment? So since we're in 2020, submission, we'll put that. Click next, and then it takes you to this uses tab here. So this is where you enter your uses and your use support. So for the example, it says to, and so these uses are unique to your organization. And so when Laura asked you for uses so that you could create your account in ATTAINS, this is why they are needed, so that your uses are populated in this list and you can access them. So these are the uses of this test account we're using right now. The directions say to use immersion recreation waters and fish and wildlife propagation. Those are not in this account, so just use whatever use you want and you think is appropriate. So for our first one, I'm going to choose, let's see, what one do I want to choose? I'll choose aquatic and wildlife, just for an example. And I'm going to make this one fully supporting. Here, your options are fully supporting, insufficient information, not assessed, and not supporting. So I'm going to say fully supporting, and then click add, and it adds it over into this use. And you can earn more information. Pretty much all of this is optional, but you're welcome to add it, like assessment date, monitoring start date, monitoring end date. These are it's optional, but definitely things that could help your reviewer see why you made that decision. You can add assessment types. This would have to be added for your organization, I believe. And you can add assessment methods, which would definitely have to be added by your organization. So if you have specific assessment methods, you can add that in the administration module.
Hey, Jesse.
Yep.
This is Angie with Penobscot Nation. What is the monitoring start and end date? Is that like the entirety of the time? Yeah, sorry, I'll just let you answer the question.
I think it's a little flexible up to what you consider it to be. I would consider it to be like the time when you made, basically the oldest and newest monitoring data you use to make that decision for that assessment unit.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to add another use. So just go in and add the uses you want. So the other one is I'm going to add a recreation use. So I'm going to say primary contact. And I'm going to make this one not supporting. And click add. And then we're going to move on to parameters. So you have these uses. So now you go into the parameters, which is what your assessing for. So the first one that has you add is dissolved oxygen. So these parameters work differently than the uses. So the parameters are the same across every organization in Attains. So you have access to every parameter that Attains allows in here. Most organizations, we have a lot, so most organizations don't have a problem with that. If there's like a very specific parameter that you come across that doesn't exist, you can email the Attains help desk and we can help you find either something that we can work with you to find something that's maybe the same and just use a different name, or if it really is something we don't have in there, we can get added for you. So the first one has is dissolved oxygen, which is meeting criteria. So your options are meeting criteria, cause, observed effect, and insufficient information. So meeting criteria is pretty self-explanatory. Cause means it's not meeting criteria. Insufficient means you don't have enough information. And observed effect is an interesting one. It means like it's not meeting standards, but it's not the cause for it to not meet criteria. So it's a little more complex. And if you have specific questions about that one, we can talk about that further. But I'm going to leave it at that for now. And then you can add multiple parameters at a time as long as they have the same parameter status. So I'm also going to add pH. pH. Yeah, this one you have to like, come on. I'm just gonna see, I think I can, nope. pH is a hard one to get sometimes.
Two of the mentors said something. Dale said the dates that you are assessing for that assessment will be utilized by your reviewer to verify your results. So they might pull that same date range out of the water quality portal to check your data. So make sure you're utilizing that date, to Dale's point. And Sophie mentioned that once you add these things, you can, they will be saved, and each time you do an assessment, you just update the parameter status, unless you need to add new information. So also really good information from your mentors.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to add these parameters. And then when you scroll down, you see it selects this parameter. So we're working with dissolved oxygen right now. And you can't have parameters without uses. They need to be associated. So we're going to associate this one with the aquatic life use. And I'm going to say that it's meeting criteria. Now, so the reason you need this attainment is because you could have the same parameter that is meeting criteria for one use and not for another use. And so that's why you have both the parameter status and the attainment. So this is the attainment for the aquatic and wildlife use. And you can see if I click on this, your options are meeting criteria, meeting threshold, which basically mean the same thing. It depends on whether your tribe uses criteria or thresholds, and not enough information. And you notice there's no option for like not meeting criteria. And that's because up here, we said it's meeting criteria. So it can't be meeting criteria over here and then say it's not. It can't be overall meeting criteria and then not meeting for a specific use. If you have a parameter that's not meeting criteria, you have to make it a cause here. So that can get confusing. Any questions on that?
That's the independent applicability phrase.
Yeah.
The only other thing is somebody asked a question. They would like more explanation on observed effect.
Okay. I'll try. So, yeah, a good example of observed effect would be like dissolved oxygen, because dissolved oxygen really isn't causing the water to not support its use. It's usually like, say, nutrients that's causing the water to have low dissolved oxygen. And so you can enter it as observed effect if you feel that better represents what is actually going on in your water. And then when you're done selecting this, you click Add, and then you click Save. Then I'm going to do this for temperature as well. So I need to select Associated Use, and we're meeting, and I'm going to click Add and Save. And so now so that adds them for the for the aquatic life use, but we also have the primary contact recreation use that we said is not supporting. If you have a not supporting use, it has to have a cause associated with it. It can have meeting criteria parameters associated with it as well, but needs to have at least one cause. So I'm going to add E. coli. There we go. And I'm going to say that that's a cause. And then I'm going to click Add. And then scroll down. I'm going to select the primary contact recreation use. And now you see I have more options: meeting criteria, meeting threshold, not meeting criteria, not meeting threshold. So I'm going to say not meeting criteria. I'm going to click Add. And I'm going to click Save. And that is it. You can also add sources if you want. This is completely optional, but if you want to add what sources are available, what sources you think are causing the lack of support, you can. There are a huge number of options you can, and then you see. So if I say that this is being caused by, I don't know, some non-point source animal feeding operations, I can say whether it's confirmed or not, and I can associate. You can see this cause is already here because I added E. coli as a cause, and then I click Add, and now add the source. And then some documents you can add here, like a decision rationale you might have, anything you'd want your reviewer or the public to see about why you made that decision. And then a summary screen here. And the summary screen is useful because when your reviewer looks through this is what they see. And so they can see the information that you entered. So it's useful just to look at the summary screen when you're done and make sure it all looks correct, because that's what EPA will see. So any questions before we go to the hands-on? Okay. Do exercise 2 now. Okay, so just looking through Attains right now, it looks like the vast majority of you have put assessment information on your assessment units, which is great. So that concludes the training for today. Next time we're going to talk about batch upload, which is a way you can basically upload a CSV file of your data, because having gone through it now, you can probably imagine that if you try it with a lot of waters, it would get tedious after a while. So there's a way you can batch upload, and we'll talk about that next time. In the meantime, now you have the information for this login account. Feel free to go in and play with it before our next call and get more of a feel for Attains when you're entering data that is just really test data and isn't going to ever go to your reviewer or show up on Housing Waterway or anything. Any questions before we end for the day?
Yeah, this is Angie with Penobscot Nation. What with the parameter groups, is there some kind of list as to what parameters are in which group?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Can you send that to us?
It's in, yeah, hold on. I'm going to.
And the other thing, was there some document that showed what exercises we were doing? Because maybe I missed it. I apologize. Maybe it was in there.
Yeah, it's just the exercise 1 and 2 that Karen sent earlier this morning.
Okay, I must have missed that. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, hold on. I can get you. It's in Housing Waterway, but it's kind of hidden. So I'm gonna paste it in the chat. Okay, I have housing waterways temporarily unavailable. Okay, yeah, I'll get that to you later.
Okay, thanks.
It looks like some users were having trouble with the screen saving. Not that you can do anything about it, but just that not everybody got through the exercise, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, and feel free to try it again in a few minutes when there aren't 40 people in it too. That might help. Okay.
Sorry, Angie, again. Can somebody point me to, I didn't get an email from Karen this morning. I got a cancellation from Laura about the other invite, but I didn't get an email with any document. So I sometimes email gets wonky and people get blocked for some reason. So if somebody could resend that, that'd be great.
Yeah, Karen, can you make sure Angie's on your list?
Yes, I'll make sure, and I'll try to send it out to you again, Angie.
Great, thanks. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get you right now. Yeah, I'll send an email with the link. Don't worry. To for the use groups, for the parameter group. Sorry. Okay. Unless there are any other questions, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess
Thank you.
we are
Thank you.
for, sorry, I'm just pulling up my calendar here in just a moment. February 15th, and that'll be another assessment training. So prepare for chatting about that one. Otherwise, have a great day. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.